Walker here from Psychologies Magazine. I am here with our Chief Ambassador, Haulwen Nicholas. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm here to talk to Haulwen today about her new book.
Hi there.
Personality test. It's fantastic. I haven't been able to put it down. I've just committed with my new boyfriend to say we're going to do one personality test a week, and I'm going to blame you if we split up.
No pressure there.
Haulwen, first of all, thank you so much for being such a brilliant ambassador in our Life Loop Club. You are brilliant, and I often look to you for advice when I come to the Life Loop Club myself. So you're a coach, you're an author, you have a business as well, so you know how to your output is enormous. But today I want to talk to you about personality tests, if that's okay.
Yes, definitely. Looking forward to it. It's something I'm passionate about.
People are always a little bit about personality tests, aren't they? They're like, I don't like to be put in a box. That's what my boyfriend says. That's why I'm going to make him do it. Why can personality tests actually help us get a kind of a grip on who we really are?
One of the things is I always think personality tests don't really put us in a box. I know it's one of the things that everyone always says, it's you're putting in a box, but actually all it's doing is it's actually helping you to identify who you truly are and your comfort zone. You can do all those other things. So, you know, if you look at all of the other different answers in a personality test, you'll find elements of you in all of them, but there'll be one that feels more close to you. And I've always felt that that was your comfort zone. And we live in a world where we're told to move away from the comfort zone, get out of our comfort zone so much that sometimes people end up operating outside their comfort zone all the time, burn out. And actually what you need to know is personality tests help you find out that place where you're comfortable, where your strengths are, where you can gain your energy, what makes you tick, what makes you smile, what makes you shine your light. And when you do that, it can be so powerful, because that's when suddenly everything starts to slot into place and everything makes sense to you. And it's not to say that you can't do stuff outside it. You can expand into it and learn how to do it slowly. But it's great for us to be able to say, well, yeah, that's actually who I am. And we live in a world where we often feel like we need to be somebody else. I know I've been there. Certainly part of my journey has been operating as somebody else. And I think it's incredibly powerful when you start understanding more about yourself. Then you can help more people and you can interact with the world in a much better way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a massive fan of personality tests. I mean, for me, when I just started at Psychologies, you know, being able to, there was one of your quizzes in your book is Myers-Briggs test. And, you know, learning about, for me, one of the most useful things I've ever learned is extrovert and introvert. Am I an extrovert? And I'm a massive extrovert. I score really highly on the extrovert scale on the Myers-Briggs personality test. But I had a team of introverts. So when I went into Psychologies, I was like, okay, let's brainstorm. And they were like, oh, and I'm like, what is wrong with everyone? Why are they like that? Why are they not coming up with ideas? But in fact, they have a genius team, but I was just communicating in the wrong way. And, you know, I just wore them all out. I just constantly wore them all out because I was kind of talking ideas and talking. So we just had to find a different way to work. But I mean, just being able to understand what an introvert is and what an extrovert is. And as you say, it's not being put in a box. It's like a light that goes on. I know that you're an introvert, aren't you?
I am, yes. And I'm actually a trained Myers-Briggs practitioner because I've worked with Myers-Briggs in most of the roles as a manager over the last 20 years. And I've managed teams from one person up to 24 people. And I always found it a really powerful tool for me to help understand my teams. I always wanted to go into it in a level of depth that the HR departments could never do. So I was always pushing it. And it was my team who actually suggested when I left my job that I become a coach because they said, and so that's why I trained in Myers-Briggs, because it's my team who were like, you should go be a coach, you're brilliant at this. But for me, I actually spent most of my life operating as an extrovert, because I felt that's what I should be doing. In fact, in Myers-Briggs, I always came out as an ENTJ, which is always seen as the leader, CEO, the driver, that sort of quite extrovert. And I used to come off the scale extrovert in all of the questions I did, because I was answering the questions how I thought I should answer them. And that's one of the dangers, that you have to be honest with yourself. And it was actually in the last 12 months when I was giving my notice at work, I kept saying to people, I'm not an ENTJ, the Myers-Briggs, when people were doing it. And they were going, yes, you are, you've come out in the quiz. And then when I did my Myers-Briggs training, they said, actually, you do the quiz, but then you do a best fit. And when you do the best fit, you say, well, what feels most right to me? And that was really powerful. And that's when I actually just determined I'm actually 3 letters different. I'm actually an INFP. So instead of being an extrovert, I'm an introvert. I definitely get my energy from my inner world. I am big picture thinking, so I'm still the N. I'm not a logic person. I'm very much decisions about feeling. And I'm not a planner. I'm definitely a last minute person. So I'm definitely a P. Yeah, I was operating as a J. So you can now understand why I burnt out. You know, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome in 2010, and I left my job because literally, you know, I was driving home from work, almost crashed my car twice. And I had to, you know, something had to give. So I resigned from my job. And it made me, that journey of focusing on myself, understanding myself, and understand myself more has helped me realize how people, they think they should live in a certain way and operate in a certain way. They think we live in a predominantly extrovert world, so everyone thinks they have to be an extrovert. You're told off if you're too quiet. You're told off if you're a daydreamer. Equally, you're told off if you're a chatterbox as well, so you can't win. And so this starts from an early age, so you think you've got to be out there, you've got to do this. And we don't embrace that. You're right, quite right. You know, you let some introverts go away and think and then come back. They can come back with some amazingly brilliant ideas. And there's also a lot of those misconceptions about the introvert extrovert. I think introvert extrovert is when people find that out is one of the most powerful things, because there's this misconception that if you're an introvert, you're going to be shy and you're going to be nervous when you do talks. That's not so. An extrovert can be a bit shy and a bit nervous as well. But if an introvert, you know, for me, if it's something I'm passionate about, I can stand up in front of a room of 500 people and do a talk. I will step off the stage afterwards and want to collapse in a heap because I'm absolutely exhausted. But I now understand why I feel like that. I always say that I get my introvert's hangover when I'm been to big events, and I have my extrovert superheroes who come and whiz me out of the room and take me off somewhere so that I can go and recover. So I think it's really, really powerful when you know that stuff, and it makes you suddenly go, it is that light bulb where you go, oh yeah, that's why we can't communicate, and that's why we have these things happen.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit more. Let's go into detail about the introvert, because a lot of our Psychologies readers are introverts. And for me, it was a real education to learn about that. Because as an extrovert, I'm kind of at them. No, I want that. You know, talk to me. And they're like, get away from me. It's so tough. So introverts, I mean, the main difference that I learned was extroverts, I get my energy from people. Hence, I'm constantly in people's face. I'm asking them questions. I want to interact. And introverts, you get your energy from within.
Yeah, within. So an introvert will get their energy from looking inwards and from going into that inner world. There's a great image that they showed in the Myers-Briggs training, which is they show a robot, and a robot that goes into a cupboard and plugs themselves in to actually get their energy. And that's the introverts. Take yourself away and get some quiet time and get your energy. The extroverts, they're like a solar panels. They've got solar panels, they're going round and they get that energy from the world around them.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that was one of the most powerful ways to do it. And with the world is geared toward extroversion. For introverts, it can be a really hard world to live in. You know, when you think about in business, open plan offices, everyone's like, open plan office is brilliant, blah, blah, blah. For an introvert, that is exhausting. Yeah. Absolutely draining. I used to run a team of 24 people, and we were crammed into a small office, and we had to, at some point, we've either got to knock down a wall to take away the meeting room, or I could have my own office. And my team said, you're an introvert. Actually, we know that you need time on your own. Because I was saying, I'm an introvert, not an extrovert, even though my quizzes kept saying extrovert. So they actually wanted me to have my own office, one, so that I was energized. But because a lot of my team were introverts, it meant that if they needed some space, one, they could use my office when I wasn't there, or they could come and talk to me or just sit in my office and work quietly. So it gave them that space. But so many companies focus everything on being extrovert. When you think about team days are always like out there going, oh yeah, take it to extremes and everything. And I used to try and do a mixture of things on the team days so that we'd do some stuff where they could perhaps go for gentle walks, go and have time apart. But one of the things it's really interesting at the moment is, of course, this crisis, the COVID crisis that we're in. We've got, of course, there's lots of introverts going, oh, great, I'm on my own all the time. I'm working from home. I'm not having to interact with people. And I'm seeing lots and lots of extroverts going, really struggling. We're seeing a bit of a role reversal, but also introverts. It's a very dangerous time for introverts because we can all become hermits. And we like our internal world so much that in the end we can close off. So it's actually a very dangerous time for introverts because it's going to be so hard for introverts to get out there and interact with the world again, that they will put it off and put it off. So we've got this double whammy at the moment, that they're feeling great because they're not having to mix with the world around them, but also they're going to struggle more when they've got to again. So I think the extrovert introverts, when people know that, it can really change their lives, and it can make them understand why certain friendships are more exhausting than other friendships. You know, my extrovert friends know now I need to go and spend time on my own. I love them, but I don't want to spend a whole night with them.
Yeah. I've got one of my really good friends is an introvert, really extreme introvert, and I know I only get 2 hours max of the time, and we plan it that way. It's like we're going to go for a visit to the zoo, and I always remember when I met her for the first time, it was like she was an Energizer bunny, and she sort of talked at me for about 40 minutes and then just went, I have to go now. And then went. I was like, oh, okay. But again, I didn't know that. And now I know that it's impacted my friendships and impacted work. It's been wonderful. So that's why I think, personality tests are so useful, because they help us identify that. So extrovert and introvert is a really great thing to understand. In terms of, what would you say were the top three? If that was number one, what are the other two and quizzes to do that help you understand yourself more? Kind of general.
I think one's sort of, are you an organised person or are you not an organised person? This was something that very, very well, I think the best way it's not so much organised, it's how you look at your world. So some people would like to go to work, do 9 to 5, and they work solid 9 to 5. And some people will go to work, they might get in at 7, or they might go to work till 10, but they go and chat to people, and they do this and that and the other. And then you see these massive clashes in the workplace, and you see it in home life as well. So it's the play work thing. Do you like to play or work and things like that? So we used to do a thing in the team where we would get everyone to stand on a scale and say, do you like to work first and then play, or do you want to play first then work? And so you'd have a lot of people around the middle that it's a bit of work and play and keep it balanced. But then you'd have different extremes. You'd have the people at the end who'd be like, well, I'll play and I'll get the job whenever I get it done. And then you've got the people, no, you work first and you don't do any play until you finish the work. And as soon as you did that and you've got them in a row, and they'd sort of looked at each other and went, oh, that's really interesting. The two people who clash in the team the most, that's incredibly powerful. And then a lot of the time they're going, I can't even comprehend that's how you operate. So things like that, people find that's really powerful, and it can stop a lot of arguments, help people to walk in other people's shoes. And I find that's really, really, really useful.
Yeah.
And then I'd say the next one was probably linking more to your organisational skills and things like that, because when you look at how people deal, I'm just looking at the best one, are you spontaneous or are you a planner, those sort of things. So spontaneous people just literally just want to, I'm just going to go and book a holiday and I'm going to do this. And the planners can't understand how that can happen. Now, if you're in a relationship and a planner and a spontaneous person together, you're just going to spend your whole time arguing. But if you can understand that one of you is more spontaneous and one of you is a planner, then it makes much more sense. But you also learn these things. So I'm a spontaneous person, put me on a guided holiday of you're going to go visit this place on this date is my idea of hell.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Equally, I do know that if I want to get my favourite holiday cottage in Wales, I need to book it 12 months in advance. So I've learnt that. So I know to get my favourite place that I will book it in advance. But then I'll leave it till literally the morning when I'll suddenly go, oh gosh, I've got to pack the car up. What do we need? And I literally just grab stuff and just shove it in the back of the car.
Yeah.
So that one, again, the spontaneous and the planner is really, really useful because it can stop so many arguments, and you can suddenly, it won't stop them completely, but it will make people go, oh, that's why you're like that. Yeah. So I definitely say that that's really, really powerful as well.
Yeah, and then what you said about it, what you can do is you're avoiding arguments. So once you understand, whether you're planning or you're spontaneous, it's about appreciating. It's not like with me with my introvert team. It's not about saying, oh, you need to come to mine. It's just understanding how to work with people who are introverted and adjusting. And they love it that I'll just go out and do the outsidey stuff, go and read big vision stuff. Yeah. And then they don't have to do it. And then, go and talk and be flamboyant or, go to these big conferences, because that will be their idea of hell. And it's like with the planning and spontaneity. If you know your partner's a planner or he's or she is more spontaneous, you can just appreciate the gifts and the strengths that they have and make it come together rather than trying to make each other wrong. So that's really great. One of my favorite tests on here, or one of the most intriguing tests, was, are you a psychopath?
Yes.
That's easy to write. I mean, I know there is the kind of, are you a psychopath, but is there a scale of being a psychopath? Really?
There is actually. It was actually one of the really interesting ones to do some research in. It was one of the ones that when we were talking with my publisher, they were keen to be in there because it's one of those that everyone's going, oh, are you a psychopath or not?
I know, I can't do it. So I think, my God, what if I find out I'm a psychopath? I'm terrified. I'm like,
and it's fascinating. There is an actual scale when I was looking into it. So from when they do actually psychopathic assessments, they can actually get you on a scale of and actually see what level of psychopathic, I can't even say it, a level of psychopath you are.
Yeah.
And so they certainly use it, when they're assessing, psychopaths who've done crimes and stuff like that. But it's also, when you read about it, they do say that majority of CEOs are verging on psychopaths on the psychopathic scale. And it is interesting when you sort of delve into it and, having worked in lots of companies and gone, oh, yeah. And I do remember with some interactions with some of the CEOs and managing directors I've had, some of them actually saying to me, you're incredibly empathic. So I need you to pick me up on when I'm missing things, because I'm not reading it. I don't see it. That's not who I am. That's not what I do. I'm here to make money and sort out a company. And I'm quite vocal for people. I always was, if it's stuff about people in the workplace, saying, well, what about the people? It's great talking about the money, but what about the people? And when you start researching it, these people who are on the psychopathic scale they don't actually even understand what empathy is. They have no comprehension of it. There's the book, The Good Psychopath, Andy McNabb, I think it is, who was in the SAS, and he says he has to get his wife to help him filter when he's, the emotions and things that are happening, because he can't genuinely understand it. And
they do say like trained soldiers, don't they? I mean, they say James Bond, I know he's a fictional character, but they say James Bond is basically a psychopath,
Yeah.
It's an interesting reading of that, but yes.
Yeah. So it is fascinating, and it's when you look into it, it's also when you start sort of seeing the tendencies in people as well. So I think also one of the interesting quizzes is the being a narcissist. And that one's very interesting because you suddenly start recognizing most people are scared of doing the narcissism and the psychopath, and it's really interesting. The people who are scared of doing it are the ones who are the least psychopathic and narcissistic people out there, because they're the ones. The fact that they're worried about being a narcissist or psychopath automatically makes them not.
Yeah, sure. The people who are completely oblivious to it are more likely to be the narcissist. I mean, narcissism is something that psychologies readers are incredibly interested in, because I think a lot of the psychologies readers are incredibly empathetic, and often we are not victims of, but we can get on the wrong side because we'll try and understand, and we'll try and work with someone who is incredibly selfish or narcissistic, and we can become their, I think the term is their echo. So I think there's a lot of psychologies readers who, are in recovery from being in a relationship with a narcissist or working for a narcissistic boss. So I think that's a really interesting test to do. So that's interesting, or kind of secretly do it for your partner or your boss. It's really good.
I think you'll see it a lot in family relationships as well, where you'll see, like, say, a narcissistic parent or something like that. And then that can, people who've sort of been brought up in those sort of circumstances, they can then find it much more difficult and end up perhaps being more sensitive in the world, which is, being sensitive is a great thing. It's often deemed a bad thing. But it's how to manage that sensitivities and how to deal with it in the world. And this is another great thing about understanding your personality, is you can then start managing the people around you to determine who your energy vampires are. One of the things that I do with my coaching, one of the first things is need to understand your who before you can know your what, your why, and all of those sort of things. Because if you don't know who you are, you can't deal with it. But you also need to understand what your energy, what gives you energy, and what drains you of energy. And if you don't know that, you can't move on to the next level. So you need to know who are the people who give you energy and who the people drain it. So, I've got some people in my life who I know that I can't spend more than 1 to 2 hours with. And so I have to limit my time with them. My husband's incredibly understanding as well, so he knows those people. He knows that I'm sensitive to their energy, so he will actually step in, or if I've got to do, be with those people longer than I need to, or would like to, then he will say, right, I'll come with you, because then I can deflect some of their energy for you. So this is all of those things then slot together as you find out more about yourself with your personality testing, so that you can actually learn how to protect yourself, learn how to protect your energies, which in turn will improve your health, not only physically, mentally, but also spiritually as well.
I mean, as you say, when we go on this journey, and then using the self-awareness and personality tests are a great way of doing that. It allows us to get really, really clear about some, these really, quite life-changing concept of extrovert, introvert, where you get your energy from. Are you organized or disorganized? Are you, all these things will not only improve, as you say, in the world of work, for example, it can make the difference between burnout and terrible ill health.
Yeah.
And thriving. So knowing how to thrive and what works for you, and as you say, your authentic you, not how you think you should be.
Yeah.
So I think this is a really important book. So thank you very much for writing it. Thank you very much for being our Psychologies ambassador. It's so lovely to see you today. You have got a new coaching program coming out, I know, in October. Is that right?
It is, yes. So I've run my coaching program online because I'm an introvert, so it suits me better. And I'm also an empath and a highly sensitive soul, so I get impacted really by people's energies. So I have already had an online coaching platform, but I put it on hold during COVID, and I've decided to relaunch it on 31st of October. Halloween, there is a reason. Well, Haulwen is quite close to the word Halloween as well. So it's called the Magical Mojo Academy, and it's going to be a monthly membership platform. I'm doing a founding members launch, so that people can come in and join and help me to develop the program and give me feedback. And I call it Life Coaching with a Hint of Witchery.
Oh, wonderful that you're launching it on Halloween. It's fantastic. Oh my goodness, I'll be definitely looking into that, because I'm convinced I'm a little bit of a witch as well. So I'll be there. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for writing this wonderful book, and we will talk again soon in the membership, in Psychologies. Lots of love, and speak to you soon.